Hi guys, it's Elizabeth and Brian is sitting over there. You're watching my grown-up life. This is going to be my abuse story. This might be a longer video, even with the cuts, just because it's very difficult for me. I've never actually come out publicly with it. I've told family and friends, but I've never actually talked to strangers about it. When I was about 7, um, my mom got into a relationship with this guy who seemed normal at the time, at least to, a 7-year-old. I still kind of got, vibes from him, but, obviously being a kid, eh, you know. So everything in this relationship started off pretty well. He accepted me pretty well, and I think that that's probably something that he probably used to keep my mom for uh, I would like to say probably about a month or two, and then everything kind of very violently changed. And then my mom left him the first time, and by that time we didn't hang out with the people that we had hung out with, and I didn't see my friends as often, and we didn't see my family as often. He had effectively gotten into my mom's head, and like I said in the other video, he had made her completely dependent upon him. We went back again, and a lot of you might criticize my mother in the comments, but I really urge you to try and be kind. The first time I was ever involved in the violence itself, I'd come home from school and my mom had run to the corner store or something like that, and I had come in from school and I had set my book bag, in the middle of the floor, and he apparently didn't like where I had put my book bag, and he came over and he nailed me in the stomach, and he got very close to my face. I mean, like, this close, and he told me to pick up my shit. I didn't understand, and it hurt so bad. This is a full-grown male kicking you in the stomach, so, anyhow, there was a lot of different times between that where he would just get me in the hall, or I wouldn't do something right. My mom had left him, and I remember going to a YMCA summer youth camp during the day while my mom was working. One day she came to pick me up. He was there. He bought me a puppy. I don't know if it was because he was trying to manipulate me. I was so angry because I thought we were finally free, and we really weren't. There was a lot more off and on and off and on. And we left one time after. It was a really bad day for him, I guess. And he was out in the back welding, and he came in, and the next thing I know, he dragged my mom out he made her keep her clothes in the back shed. Like, I don't know why. I have no idea why, but he made her keep her clothes in garbage bags out in his shed out in the backyard. And he dragged her out there by her hair and was pushing her around in the dirt, and I could see it from the kitchen, and I wanted nothing more than to run out and help her, but I mean, when you're a little kid, you can't. And we did leave the next day, and then we went back. My mom had this old Dodge van, and all my stuff was in there. Apparently he had poured gasoline over everything, pictures and everything, and he had slashed the tires so that she couldn't leave, and he threatened that if she tried to leave that he would kill her and he would set the van on fire. So I lost everything except for what I had, and my grandmother had crocheted me a blanket, which I affectionately called Blanky, and everything that I had could fit into this blanket. and be kind of folded up and carried. It was so bad at one point. He jumped on top of her and just started wailing on her. Like, it was so bad. And then he rounded on me and he tried to hit me, and my mom jumped on top of him and he flung her off and just wailed on her. And I went running down the hall and I had become practiced at grabbing my little blankie knapsack and started running to the front door and just working as hard as I could to reach the locks, because he had several. He had the one on the handle, the deadbolt, and then one higher up on the door. And I was working so hard to try and get out of the house. And it'd become practice to run to the neighbors to try and get them to call the police. But obviously, I can understand it from both sides, but this is a kid, you know, you're talking about. And by this time, people just stopped opening their doors. I would be screaming and pounding on their doors and crying, and they wouldn't open them anymore. And so this particular instance, I ran back to my mom and I was telling her what was going on, and he'd come outside after that. So now it was out in the open. People could see what was going on. He pulled her by the hair and he wanted her to get in the truck for some reason. And he wanted me to get in the truck too. So what she ended up doing was she ended up getting in the truck, pulling me in next to her, and the second that he started going around the backside, she opened the door and threw herself out, and we had to run. We ran across this field. And I remember running so hard and so fast. It felt like my lungs were on fire. And back then I wasn't a chubby kid by any means. At some point he was so close. I swear I could have touched his front bumper with my hand if I wanted to. And I knew if I stopped running that it was going to be worse than if we just kept running. And if I just died because I died of a heart attack, then we left him again. And we tried to not tell anybody where we were this time. And we ended up getting this little itty bitty trailer, that one bedroom, like barely a bathroom, barely a kitchen, but it was home and it was safe. And then one morning we woke up, and across the street off of one of those, you know, plastic banner things that you find at like state fairs was, my mom's name plus his name equals love forever. He had found us again. And I remember being so terrified. And this kept up for like about a week or so. We went back to him. It was a couple of months that everything was good. I thought he had changed. My mom thought that he had changed, which is complete bullshit. Eventually we left again, and we left for some time the next year when I turned 8, that he popped back into our lives again, and it was just as bad, if not worse, than before. We went to go and see, I guess, his mom, who was watching over a friend of theirs' house, and he was being really, really nice, abnormally nice. And he had bought me a snorkel and some swim fins because his friend's house had a pool. And I loved swimming at that point because I could go underwater and I could just be alone. You know, and for some reason, like, going under the water and just floating there felt just like the most peaceful thing I had experienced in 2 years. And so obviously I spent a lot of time underwater, and so that snorkel was like a blessing, or at least I thought it was. They started arguing, and okay, so I had to stop for a second. So we went back to his place, and they were fighting, like arguing just verbally, and I was told to go to bed. And the next thing I know, I am being shaken awake by him. And he told me to get my stuff together. And I asked him, I was like, where's my mom? And he said, "Your mom is dead." I was like, you're not serious. That's not true. And he popped me in the side. And he said, "Your mom is dead. She went and took a bunch of pills and she committed suicide." At this point, I didn't have anybody. I couldn't remember my grandmother's phone number, and I wasn't about to argue with him at that point. So I got my things together, and I remember sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be stuck with him for the rest of my life, and this is what I'm going to have to live with. I'm all alone. I don't think anybody can, unless they've gone through that, I don't think you can really understand what that feels like. And he gathered up some of his weapons from his cabinet, and his mom was there. He walked us around to the pool. We live next to a city pool, a park pool, and he shoved me in the car. And we went to a friend's house, and they stuck me in a closet. I was sitting in that closet thinking, how do I get out? I wasn't scared anymore. I went numb, and how do I get out? And periodically he would leave, and I guess his friend felt really sad for what was going on, but apparently he didn't even have the balls to stand up to this particular person, because he would let me out to play with the kittens that him and his family had. I couldn't even bring myself to think about my mom at that point. I didn't even care what happened about me. The only thing I could focus on was those kittens. And then, of course, he'd let me out to go to the bathroom. I don't know what possessed him, but at some point, it was later in the afternoon, he pulled me out of the closet, he shoved me in his truck, and I was silent the whole way. Because if I had to live with him for the rest of my life, I was sure as hell not going to give him the satisfaction of hearing my voice. And I had made a point not to talk to him, period. And if I never talked again my entire life, then that was just fine with me. But I was never going to give him the satisfaction of having a single sound uttered from my mouth. Not even if he beat me. Much to my surprise, when we got back to his place, the police were there. I thought, how odd. Maybe somebody had heard a fight or something like that, or maybe they had come to tell me they found the body. These police officers, I wish I knew who they were, because they saved me. I don't even know what would have happened if he hadn't put me in the truck and went back, and they hadn't been there. I was taken to the police station, and where's your mom? Oh, my mom's dead. Oh, well, did he kill her, or what happened? I mean, obviously they didn't ask me like that, but that's what they were asking. I said, he told me that she took pills and that she had committed suicide. And they said, okay, well, you just sit here. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? They were just so nice. And they brought me a teddy bear, which I've had for the longest time. And I hugged that teddy bear so tightly. And they asked me if I had any other family, and I told them I had my grandmother, but I didn't know her phone number. I couldn't remember it. They actually found my mom. She wasn't dead. And they didn't tell me they had found her at the time. They were like, okay, well, we're going to take you to this shelter. I remember walking in the door and walking into one of the areas that they had. My mom was there. You cannot imagine how relieved I was. I was angry. But I was relieved. And apparently what had happened, they had gotten into a really bad argument, and she went to go get me, and he blocked her way. And so she went to our neighbors to ask for help, to beg for help, and nobody answered. And so she did the only thing that she thought she could at the time, which was to go and call the police at the corner store and to have them come and get me. By the time the police got there, I was gone. And the look on my mom's face when she held me again, she was so sorry. And I guess she thought that if she had to track, what could he possibly do? And I guess we found out. So after that, we stayed away from him quite a long time, and then over time, sometimes he would meet us up at places and stuff. And the following year, my sister was born, and he came into our lives briefly. I came home from school, and he was there at our new apartment, which had been my safe haven. It had been so free of chaos and violence and anger and hatred and fear. And everything was fine. He started drinking, and the next thing I know, he had on this ring on his middle finger it was pretty thick metal, and it had spikes all over it and everything. And they weren't really sharp, but they were still spikes. And she ballsed up to him and said, "Get the fuck out of here. You need to get the fuck out of here, because you're not doing this around my kid anymore. We're done with you. You need to get out before I call the police, and this time I will press charges and hold." And he hauled off and hit her in the head. I don't know why he decided all of a sudden to just stop, but he stopped what he was doing mid-swing for a second punch and left. That was like the biggest thing. I thought I literally saved the day, and I was the biggest hero and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it was just because I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm thinking that he was probably sure that one of my neighbors was probably going to call the cops, which did happen, by the way. The cops came, and they saw to my mom's head and said that she probably should go get stitches, and she was like, "No, I need to take care of my kids." But that was the last time we ever saw him. And I really wish that I could say that that was the end of it, but that really wasn't the end of it. When I was 9, I was sleeping over at my best friend's house. Her mom had a fiance. Everything seemed normal. There was no clue that this guy was a predator of any kind. And my friend had fallen asleep, and I hadn't fallen asleep. In fact, I had turned on the light, and I was trying to read a book. This person, I don't even want to call him a man, came in, and I saw out of the corner of my eye that he was butt-ass naked. And being as how a 9-year-old usually doesn't see butt-ass naked people, I averted my eyes and just pretended to be asleep. What else was I going to do? I thought he was just going to come in, turn off the light, and go away. He came over, and he kneeled down next to me and put his hand up my shirt and in my underwear. And he was touching my butt. And then I just squeezed my eyes shut tighter and tried to rationalize it with stupid, "Oh, well, he's checking for chicken pox," or something. I was in full-blown panic mode. And then it got worse, because he decided he was going to swing around the front side. And I don't think that anybody realizes how, even as a child, horrible and dirty that you feel. And it's not even your fault. I just kept thinking, "Oh my God, just please go away. You're not supposed to be doing this. Just go away. Just go away." And I made like I was waking up, and he and he left the room. And I remember sitting there going, what is this? What just happened? I stayed awake the rest of the night. My friend woke up the next day, and I told her what happened. And instead of going, oh my God, we need to tell my mom, she started begging me not to tell her mom, and that he had been doing the same thing to her, and that not to tell her mom because her mom would hate her. I felt so bad for her because that was the first time it ever happened to me. But could you imagine having it happen over and over again, and be awake and him knowing that you were awake and freaking telling you that your parental unit would hate you? And I remember just eating breakfast as fast as I could. I gathered up my stuff as fast as I could. And I remember walking down the stairs, and as I got to a turn, like a little flat stopping point, he comes out of her mom's bedroom and he says, "See you later." And I started crying on the way home, and any kind of hope I had of not crying whatsoever, I thought I had cried it out on the walk because we were in the same apartment complex. I thought I had cried it out of my system. I would just say I was tired, we stayed up all night or something, and I ended up breaking down the second I got in the door. My mom called the police, and the police came and they took my statement. And one of them made me go up to my room with her and show her on a doll where I had been touched. I knew it was kind of a big problem, a big deal, that obviously an adult shouldn't be touching you this way. But there was something so much more degrading about it, having to show somebody what had happened. And then they went and arrested him. And I remember feeling so dirty. And I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out why this was done to me, and I took shower after shower, bath after bath. We went to, obviously they pressed charges, and we went to court. And we sat in the back. We weren't witnesses or anything, but me and my friend were, at least how it was explained to me was that it was good, like, closure. And I remember when they were discussing, or the judge was pretty much trying to get his side of it, when they said, in the case of me on this and this night, what happened? And in the most careless, cool voice, he said, "She was just there." And to this day, it's still not an answer. And to this day, I still, like I said, have issues. I don't wear dresses. I don't wear skirts. And if I have to, I wear shorts underneath, period. I still check up on him. I still make sure that he's in prison. Last time I checked up on him, and I don't know why I do it either, but last time I checked up on him, he has 8 years left. But I found him in the system. I also found him on a right to a convict site. And on there, he says that he was fueled by alcohol and drugs. And that's why he made the mistakes that he made. I hope to God he never touches another living thing while he's alive. So that's my abuse story. It is not something that is a female-only thing. It's not only men that are abusers. Females can be abusers too, just as easy. It's not females only that get molested or raped. I think the saddest part about my experience is that while we were going through the shelters, I met some really unique kids, some really special kids. I hope that they made it. I hope they're okay. And I'm hoping that my friend, I really hope that she has a really good life and that she's happy and well. And I just want to say that it's due to people sharing their own stories, that I don't feel so alone. I don't feel so isolated. Because when you go through it, you are changed forever.